Welcome to Prepper Nation. I am John. Thank you very much, Michael Waters, Waters Family Homestead, for the mean bean this morning and also during the exclusive stream that is coming up, brother. Truly appreciate that. Let's talk about a trigger event this morning. I think we're seeing the makings of a trigger event in Europe. So the article that I have pulled up on the screen is actually from Sky News. But very similar. It's being reported in Russian media outlets, British media outlets, very similar. I wanted to get kind of a middle of the road article. In other words, if I put it over here from Russian media, they're going to say, it's misinformation, right? So again, this is from Australia. 200,000 people approximately in Ukraine right now in the capital of Kyiv are without power. Russian attacks hit overnight. They destroyed a major power plant in the capital city of Kyiv. The Ukrainians tried to knock this stuff down. Apparently, these were advanced missiles that just totally obliterated the power plant. There were no deaths, but I mean, 200,000 without power. And Z-Man, the president of Ukraine, he is now saying Ukraine will lose the war without U.S. aid. So for those that don't know, we've already sent $113 billion with a B dollars to Ukraine. That's just the United States alone. Other NATO countries have sent money as well. Right now in our Congress, there's $60 billion of aid, financial aid to Ukraine that's kind of being tied up. Joe Biden wants this stuff immediately sent to Z-Man, 60 billion, again with the B. I'm not a huge fan of our House Speaker right now, House Speaker Johnson. I was at the beginning. I had high hopes. He seems extremely compromised, in my opinion, at this point. But I do have to give him credit on this because he's the one that is hanging this money up. He's not bringing it to an official vote because I think if he did, this would pass and we would be out of another $60 billion. I don't know at some point if he's going to bring it to a vote. It's probably politically motivated, to be honest with you. But as of right now, we're not sending this money. And Zelensky's telling us flat out, we're going to lose this war with Russia unless you send us this money. Now, me over here in the $1 million bunker, it used to be $1 billion, son, but I had to pay taxes. Me over here, I don't want billions of dollars. That's not what's going to make me happy. I just want to say thank you for hitting subscribe. That's what makes me happy over here, growing the platform, right? So anyway, on the flip side of the coin, the plot thickens here, okay, folks? On the flip side of the coin, Russia is now accusing Great Britain of putting troops on the ground, not just assisting and training, but actually putting them in combat roles in Ukraine. So they're specifically pointing at the UK Special Boat Services Unit, commandos, if you will. So they foiled a plan, according to the news article here, and again, all over the mainstream media outlets. Russia is claiming that they captured a senior naval official from Ukraine and basically interrogated him. It's Russia, so Lord only knows how they're interrogating this man, but they finally get out of him that he's actually taking orders from boots on the ground from the UK. So Russia's, they're upset about this. Russia views this as a direct involvement by the UK, by, British forces in the war. They've kind of set back and they've watched NATO countries in particular, not to paint Russia in a good light whatsoever, but NATO countries talk out of both sides of their mouth. They'll say, we don't want any kind of direct involvement. We don't have a dog in this fight. And then they're sending, again, billions of dollars worth of armament and, money, artillery shells, tanks, jet fighters, things like this to Ukraine. So they're kind of like, we're not in this fight. We're just trying to help a brother out over here in Z-Man. And Russia has allowed that. They're not fans of it, but they've allowed it. They just put bounties out on the equipment, and their soldiers are destroying tanks and things from the West. But they do view this in a different light, because now that they know the UK is boots on the ground, they consider the UK fair game. This thing just escalated, in other words. The United Kingdom is fair game. Russia's going to look at this now, and they're going to say, you know what, if we catch them down there, we'll wipe them out. Not just that, but now the way Russia thinks, maybe they're looking at the UK and they're thinking cyber attacks or events or something like this inside of the UK. Because again, now this country is directly involved. It's just the way Russia thinks. The UK seems to know this, because they have invested heavily in time and effort, a lot of money as well, to go through and kind of category their combat readiness. How many troops do we have? How many tanks do we have? How many artillery shells would we need if we theoretically went to war with Russia? And they're also kicking around the idea of conscription, a draft. They're saying that might be the only way we can do this, right? So I think that the UK views this, and NATO as well. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time before Russia and its allies go head to head with NATO in a direct fashion. Because listen, NATO is not they're not just going to stand around and watch Russia win. I get it. Z-Man's a grifter. He wants money, money, money. I totally understand that. But if what he is saying is true, and I believe that it is, that if they don't get immediate funding and just huge shipments of artillery and planes and tanks and everything, that they're going to lose the war. NATO is not going to stand by and watch them lose this war. And again, I think he's telling the truth, because you have 200,000 people in Ukraine's capital city without power. Not only are they without power, Ukraine really has no backup plan. They don't know what to do. They can't fix the power plant because it's totally annihilated at this point. And if they hit this one, they're going to be able to hit the other ones as well. There are only a few. So I do think that they're losing this war. This is not a border city. This is the capital city, right? Z-Man's been in his bunker here for a very long time. So Russia's now reaching out and hitting them very far away. And I think that it's just a matter of time before they encircle cities and begin sieges and things. NATO's not going to allow that. But at the same time, Russia is not going to just sit by and watch NATO jump in and not fight back. This is Russia, in their official statements, this is why they're at war right now. Now, the article here says, for context, NATO members, including the UK, have said, they're on record saying they have no plans to send troops to Ukraine. But NATO is also on record multiple times saying they're not going to expand west toward Russia. And they lied straight through their teeth every single time. And Russia is saying this is why we're at war. So Russia's not going to take NATO's word for it. They're not going to take the UK's word for it at this point. What they're going to do if NATO gets directly involved, and I think it's just a matter of time now, is they're going to turn to their allies. And they're going to say, hey, allies, we need help. We've got NATO now invading. We've got NATO fighting us. And now, all of a sudden, Russia's going to turn to their allies and they're going to look sympathetic. You know what I mean? They're going to look to China and they're going to say, we need help. And here China is positioned, near Taiwan, ready to strike. China's bound to know at some point Russia's going to ask for help. And me personally, I think China is positioning things so they can enter the war at just the right time, and as well as North Korea. One of Russia's other allies is Iran. So what is going on right now with Israel and all of the chaos in the Middle East? Iran, they'll toe the line like this. They want to get involved. They just don't want to do it on their own. Belarus, which is a very small military over in Europe, but very strategically placed. They're a firm ally of Putin and Russia. This would allow Russia to run airstrikes against NATO, and it forces NATO to fight another front, if you will, to the north. India. India has a huge military. India is kind of on the fence. They're trying to stay out of it, but they're firm allies with Russia. And if you have a coalition of 20 plus countries lashing out against Russia back and forth, there's a high likelihood India is going to look at that and say, we have to help Russia. You understand? They're going to look at them sympathetically. This thing is about to spiral out of control. World chaos is perfect if you are having a November election in the United States and your sitting president not only is compromised, but he's losing every major poll. Something has to happen to distract people, right? From that, I think it's just a matter of timing by NATO and their allies, because at the end of the day, NATO cannot afford to lose Ukraine. They can't do it. It's a strategically placed country. So let's talk once again about the trigger event, okay? Here's the problem that NATO has. And here's why I think we're going to see a trigger event very soon. Maybe in the UK, maybe in the United States, maybe in France. It's going to be a major heavy-hitting NATO power, though. NATO right now cannot enter the war in Ukraine. Boots on the ground. They can't roll tanks through. They can't fly their planes in, on combat missions. I mean, they can, but they really can't because it's an unpopular war. People are tired of paying for the war in Ukraine, right? So they need some sort of an event to happen that they can point to, and they can say, folks, this is why we're going in. They need a George Bush weapons of mass destruction pitch. They need something like that. They need a 9/11 pitch. Hey, we need to go into the Middle East. This sort of thing. They need something to sell the average citizen of NATO countries who are footing the bill. Again, very unpopular. World War II for a second, very unpopular. Americans don't want to get involved. Pearl Harbor hits. All of a sudden, most of the country is demanding war. There's going to be a trigger event. Now, I'm not a prophet. This is just me thinking objectively here. I don't know where this trigger event is going to be, but I'm looking at the countries where it's most unpopular. Again, Great Britain, Germany, it's very unpopular there with the citizens. And of course, the United States, it's very unpopular among conservatives. Those are the folks that are tired of footing the bill in all of these countries. So if there's going to be a trigger event, it has to be something to get conservatives to toe the line. They want you. If you're out there right now and you're saying, I'm tired of sending money to Ukraine, it is beyond ridiculous. They want an event that is going to make you totally do a 180, totally change your mind, and be calling the White House demanding for war at some point. You know what I mean? So look for that. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. And again, thank you for subscribing to Prepper Nation. Y'all take care and God bless.